relive the most memorable fashion moments of the Year in Fashion 2020. Fashion in 2020 was bold, beautiful, and unexpected. Little did we know that this year would mark not just the beginning of a new decade, but the beginning of a new era in fashion as the COVID-19 pandemic turned the industry on its head. In this Year in Fashion, our annual series produced since 1985, we recap the most remarkable moments of the spring and fall 2020 seasons. In New York, Michael Kors put on a star-studded show. Carolina Herrera's runway was in full bloom, and Pyer Moss invited us to an evening of remarkable stories.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe is a black woman who invented the sound that we now know as rock and roll.
Marc Jacobs collaborated with celebrated dancer Karole Armitage for a powerful performance. And we went backstage at the Blondes with Moroccanoil.
It's like a blonde paradiso. It's just really this like explosion of strong femininity.
We bring you the highlights of London, Milan, and Paris Fashion Weeks. From J.Lo's surprise Versace appearance, to Thom Browne's animal menagerie, to Tommy Hilfiger's fourth collaboration with Formula One racing driver Lewis Hamilton.
This is the most exciting show that I've been to and been a part of.
Legendary supermodel Kathy Ireland teamed up with the author Rachel Van Dyken for her first novel, with an important message about the fashion industry.
It shares the challenges, the exploitations, things that go on in this industry that people frequently don't talk about.
Plus, step into the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute's long-awaited exhibition about time, fashion, and duration.
This year marks the Met's 150th anniversary, and the exhibition reflects this time span.
All this and more on the Year in Fashion 2020.
I jokingly call the collection American Pie, but it's really all about optimism. You know, America, here we are. This is the land where sportswear was born. You know, the 40s, during World War II, we saw that women here in the States, they ran the factories while the guys were overseas, and they were powerful and romantic at the same time. So it's a very patriotic collection. I am a patriotic kind of guy. And it is looking at the classic pieces and twisting them and subverting them. Stars and stripes, yes, but maybe in a bit of a subverted way. It's looking at beautifully tailored jackets and coats. A lot of them are very nipped in the waist, stronger in the shoulder.
Yes, I'm wearing Michael. And I love it. It's kind of fun to wear a suit. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I haven't worn a suit out to like a red carpet thing in a while. It's kind of nice. Michael. I love Michael. He's just a lovely, lovely man and great. I mean, I get to wear this, right?
We are using a very tonal 90s palette, so everything is in beiges and dusky pinks, and we're using the colors to give the nonchalance and the coolness to the look, so it's not overtly pretty, but it's still feminine. There's quite a lot of a handsome beauty about the look. So there's a very groomed brow. The flush, instead of being quite pretty and quite high, It's on the apples, but then we bring it down into a handsome flush. A very, very groomed, effortless beauty.
I was so inspired by the super bloom that happened in California this past spring, and it's this botanical phenomenon in which after a year of drought, an explosion of color, lilies, verbena, poppies blanket and carpet the valleys for as far as the eye can see. I've been really trying to emphasize color and print and joy and optimism as our brand codes. So when I saw the super bloom, I knew I wanted to try to capture a little bit of that in the collection today. We created floral prints that are in a gazar and sometimes smaller lily of the valleys on crinkle chiffon. But it wasn't just the prints. We also then tried to drape and sculpt the fabric to resemble the flowers as well. There's one short yellow dress in particular that I actually draped to resemble a rose blossoming. She's fearless, she's confident, and she looks to her wardrobe for fun.
It's been closed since 1977. It opened up a few years ago. They've been doing like small concerts here. I wanted to bring attention to the space. This collection is the third part in the thesis, and each part is all about reversing the erasure of black people in popular American space. Sister Rosetta Tharpe is a black woman who invented the sound that we now know as rock and roll. And I think it was important to speak to her story and break down what she means for American pop culture.
Emotive prints in the collection were created by exonerated artist Richard Phillips. Phillips spent over 4 decades in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He was finally cleared and released in 2018.
Evidence was withheld to essentially derail him and cost him 50 years of his life. is a tragic story. When I first heard it, I didn't have the means to reach out and actually do something meaningful with him. But it's something I always kept in the back of my mind because I remember him talking about him being a painter and how much he loved to paint and use watercolor. And as soon as I was able, we reached out and asked him to collaborate on this collection. And he was like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I'm doing a collection around Sister Rosetta Tharpe, but you can do whatever you want, and I'll make it make sense." I'm thrilled to have a platform in which I can reach back into the community, bring people back to my community, bring awareness to people who are doing the work down on the ground. And this is the most rewarding part of what I do, and it's the reason why I do it.
I was really inspired by Ashley Longshore and her paintings. They stand for something. They're still beautiful and amazing, and she actually is going to be live painting today during the show. A little bit pop art, a little bit kind of surrealism. She's an amazing artist, but they're also fun and playful, and they don't always take themselves too seriously. I still wanted the collection to feel bright and bold and powerful. Her color palette, her use of matte and shine, I loved all of that. So it's all in the clothes. She actually painted some of my favorite iconic women in the collection.
No, I have never met her. I'm obsessed with her. She's so good. I gotta go meet her. I was gonna try to do that, but I got lost. She should paint me. I would love that. There's all body shapes. I was walking down today, and I love how he dresses me in my curves, and I always feel the sexiest and the prettiest in his outfits.
I love everything Christian puts me in. I've been lucky that he's been dressing me for like 4 years now. He understands women, and his stuff is so beautiful.
In February 2020, the fashion world congregated, as always, for Fashion Weeks. Little did we know the fall 2020 shows would be the last of their kind for months and mark the end of an era as the COVID-19 pandemic sent the world into lockdown shortly after Paris Fashion Week. Tommy Hilfiger and Formula One racing champ Lewis Hamilton teamed up for their fourth collaborative collection, this time joined by recording artist Herrera. The star-studded London runway showcased the streetwear collection with a sporty edge.
This season I'm really excited about the three-way collab going on with Lewis Hamilton, Herrera, and Tommy. The whole idea was about sustainability, genderless. The fluorescent touches are really exciting. I love the military details. I love the workwear and surplus details, but I love the boiler suits. I like to be a leader, and I would like to be able to wave the flag for sustainability and lead the way. We've found new ways to make the clothes sustainable, but we're not there 100% yet. We're working toward it. We have the entire company focused on it, and we're going to get there.
This is the most exciting show that I've been to and been a part of. Empowering fans. I think ultimately fashion has given me a means to be able to express myself, and that's what fashion is all about. Hopefully people will see that you can have great looking clothes with a minimal impact. So this was very, very special and important for me to have a London show, really to kind of highlight the great culture that we have here in London. What fashion does, it brings people together. It's open to everyone. That's what you'll see in the selection of models.
The Tommy team is really dope and easy to work with, so it was all fun. It was all fun, and it's not that different from music, you know. Fashion is a way of expression, so I really enjoyed the process. I'm really proud of, you know, pieces like the jumpsuit and the mesh top. Like, it brought a little feminine flair. I'm just super proud of it. I hope people really pay attention to the details because, you know, there's a lot of, you know, phrases and words that represent me and Lewis, and some of my song lyrics are in there. To be walking with Lewis and Tommy at the end of it, and to see these beautiful models in clothes that I created and me and Lewis created, it's unbelievable.
In a dark, cavernous space on Manhattan's Upper East Side, a single spotlight signals the entrance of legendary dancer and choreographer Karole Armitage. And so the Marc Jacobs Fall 2020 show begins, with models emerging en masse from the darkness, each one a more unique character than the last. The show, choreographed by Armitage, was a celebration of individuality. Despite the frenetic nature of the performance, the collection itself was restrained and minimal, a departure from many of Jacobs' previous collections. The fierce and chaotic choreography was the perfect balance for Jacobs' collection, which was dazzling in its restraint and its simplicity of form and silhouette. Many of the looks recalled bygone eras. Jacobs referenced New York's fashion past, while Armitage's highly contemporary choreography planted the collection firmly in the present. As his inspiration for the season, Jacobs cited his memory of a disappearing New York. To quote the designer's show notes, a New York that is forever mythical and chic, with its beauty, promise, sparkle, and grit. Indeed, the eclectic mix of styles and character was the standout aspect of this collection, with sparkling gowns sharing the stage with short suits, simple slip dresses, A-line jackets and coats, reminiscent of the 60s, and pared-down separates that recalled Jacobs' own grunge period. Most of the looks were presented in solid colors. The focus was on silhouette, proportion, and quality fabrics. In all of its extravagance and nostalgia, the show was a celebration of individuality and a testimony to the expressive power of clothing. In July 2020, the fashion community lost an irreplaceable figure, Japanese designer Kansai Yamamoto. Known for his theatrical pieces, Yamamoto famously designed costumes for the likes of David Bowie, Lady Gaga, and Elton John. Yamamoto brought the color, prints, and patterns of traditional Japan to life on his runways, bringing him international success.
It's like a blonde paradiso. The clothes are denim and diamonds and pearls and feathers. So it's just really this explosion of femininity, like strong femininity. So what we're doing is a couple different looks. One of them is a center part, slicked down. We're adding the Moroccanoil treatment or treatment light, depending on the girl's hair type. And then we're following it with the Moroccanoil smoothing lotion. And we also like to spray Perfect Defense by Moroccanoil throughout the hair first, even before we blow dry, because it really helps keep the integrity of the hair. You know, you're doing flat ironing, blow drying, so it's really protecting from all of that heat. And we're then going to slick it down into a very, very low ponytail, and we hold it in place with either our extra stronghold hairspray or our luminous hairspray strong. This is our stronghold gel, and what this does is it really holds the hair and keeps it in place without moving. That's sort of where the baby hairs are coming into play, just removing them from the hairline and then bringing them down and using a brush and a comb, and we just sculpt those little baby hairs with the gel. And some of the girls will have a little bit more of just a subtle wave, and some will have actual curls going on, like swirls. It's just the perfect amount of hold.
Model, entrepreneur, philanthropist, icon, and now novelist. Supermodel turned supermogul Kathy Ireland teamed up with New York Times bestselling author Rachel Van Dyken to publish her first fictional novel, Fashion Jungle, based on Ireland's experiences in the modeling business.
I never intended on sharing these stories. It's fiction, it's based on real events that I experienced, roommates, friends that I worked with.
Fashion Jungle is about 4 women who enter into the modeling industry. They're trying to navigate this fashion jungle, trying to understand their own worth. We had a mutual friend that introduced us, and we started talking and both got kind of emotional over her story and over everything she wanted to say, and we decided that we had to write it.
I quickly saw how she was able to weave what I was sharing with her into like amazing stories, and it's a thriller, it's romance, it's suspense.
Kathy's advice to future models and entrepreneurs:
don't be afraid to say no. No is a complete sentence. Figure out your values, have conviction for them, and know what you'll walk away from. Put good boundaries in place to protect your values.
Fashion Jungle is available online and in stores now.
So I was looking at things that I've been obsessed with since I moved to New York. Carry-out bags, garbage bags, really colorful debris on the street that has been run over by every taxi. And really kind of like, how do you make that beautiful, abject, rejected thing fashion? So I was looking at a lot of the work of Alex Barton, who was formerly known as Madame Grey in the 50s to the 80s. And she moved on from her goddess draping dresses into something a bit more graphic and experimental. And so I kind of found similarities in that work. And that kind of informed some of the techniques that we used. Again, just kind of making work that me and my teammates are really proud of and excited to try and figure out. We also were able to really work closely with the garment district in New York this season, so the quality is reflected in the work, the ambition level is reflected in the work, and that was also kind of the inspiration. It's extremely important to me. One, because I can actually look at the quality. We can make sure that things are course corrected during the construction process. And also to give back to people that have given so much to us. There's a great history of designers like Zach Posen and Marc Jacobs, etc., insert name here, that have made great work here, and I'd like to continue that lineage. I was able to hire all of my friends, and now we work together and we make great clothes.
After being delayed for nearly half a year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute finally opened its doors for their new exhibition, About Time, Fashion and Duration.
We could not have imagined, when we chose the name for this exhibition more than a year ago, how apt the title would become. On the occasion of the Met's 150th anniversary, this exhibition explores fashion from 1870, when the museum was founded, to the present and beyond. Organized as a disrupted timeline of fashion, the show uses flashbacks and fast-forwards to illustrate the evolution of clothing through time.
In essence, the show is a meditation on fashion and temporality, drawing out the tensions between change and endurance, and ephemerality and persistence. The exhibition presents 150 years of fashion culled almost exclusively from the Costume Institute's collection along two parallel timelines. The first features 60 ensembles arranged in chronological order. The second timeline intersperses a series of 60 interruptions that pre- or post-date the first timeline, but relate to them in terms of shape, motif, material, technique, or decoration. This is a riding jacket from 1902, and it was made for Princess Alexandra, Queen Consort to Edward VII. We've paired it with an ensemble by Nicolas Ghesquière for Louis Vuitton from 2018. This is an example of Gabrielle Chanel's little black dresses, and it's arguably the dress of the decade, if not dress of the century. And we've paired it with a dress by Virgil Abloh for Off-White from 2018 with little black dress in quotation marks. The idea of looking at sort of ordinary objects and elevating them to the level of art. Karl Lagerfeld for Chanel, and it was actually his first couture collection for Chanel in 1983. And it references the heritage of the house with this trompe l'oeil jewellery. We've paired it with a dress by Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen from 2019. And it's basically a hyperbolic interpretation of Karl Lagerfeld's dress. This dress is by Iris van Herpen. It dates to 2012. Iris's innovative use of 3D printing technologies, it gives the feeling of a living organism. And we've paired it with a dress by Charles James from 1951. As you can see, the soft puffs of the skirt very much reference these lobed effects of Iris van Herpen's dress. We end the exhibition with this piece from Victor & Rolf's Spring 2020 Haute Couture collection, which was a direct response to the temporal acceleration that's come to define fashion in the 21st century. Since 2016, Victor & Rolf's Haute Couture designs have been produced with surplus fabric from past collections.
This exhibition offers a chance to reflect on how fashion, art and culture can inspire and inform, as well as make connections across cultures and time, notions that take on new urgency in these uncertain times.
French luxury brand Longchamp made the jump to New York Fashion Week in 2018 and has since returned to NYC every fashion season to debut their latest women's ready-to-wear collection. Brand ambassador Kendall Jenner was among the star-studded front row for Longchamp's Fall 2020 show.
The inspiration is really about a Parisian woman, you know, a Parisian woman here in the New York City. Parisian woman, it's my culture. I am born in Paris, I am Parisian, so I am of course very inspired by all those iconic Parisians like Romy Schneider, Catherine Deneuve, Carole Bouquet, that was in beautiful movies in the 70s like Les Choses de la Vie, that was the music of the show. And the idea was really to translate these 70s vibes, a very Parisian vibe, in 2020. So I am really working for a contemporary woman, but I wanted to bring this chic, elegant Parisian touch. The color, of course, the material, for example, the twist also and the interaction of the color. I was inspired by Joseph Albert, the artist for the interaction of the color. But the idea was to give in the proportion, of course, but also in the twist of the color and the material to give the very contemporary touch. So the accessories, you have seen we have the Le Pliage bags that was in the show, and it's our iconic bag. It's come in a super mini or in super maxi. And after I have redesigned the Roseau bag, that is also a bag that is 25 years old in our collection, but here it was launched in with new shape, new proportion, new style, and in a very structured way. And the last one was a new line that we call Longchamp 1980 because it's inspired by the bags that my father was doing for me when I was 12 years old. They're becoming now vintage and super cool. So I wanted to play again with them. I have the great chance to have this DNA behind me with a strong craftsmanship. We have our own workshop with an unbelievable craftsmanship. So I am happy to play with this, but to use this craftsmanship to do very contemporary products. So it's a mix of both.
On October 4th, 2020, legendary designer Kenzo Takada passed away from complications due to COVID-19. Takada designed for over 3 decades in his adopted home of Paris. A master of innovative mixes of color, print, and fabrics, Kenzo's ever-changing signature was always rooted in joy.
The title is From Grandmother's Couch, so my inspiration was really just about like a mix of things. So you sit on your grandmother's couch and what do you see? You might see a printed curtain, a contrasting printed couch, a latchik rug. So it's really about things that seem like they don't belong but all existing in harmony together. One of the new techniques that I'm working with is cutting on the bias, which is a very romantic, traditional way of cutting. It gives you the best and perfect drape. I want to apply that to menswear, not only in fabrics that might feel a little bit more fluid, but maybe even like a structural fabric. I mean, I love sculpture, so I'm all for the canvas and heavy fabrics and just mixing those techniques. I think everyone deserves to feel lifted and edified, you know, and so as a designer, I'm always trying to expand the narrative of menswear and really be more inclusive. So maybe it's clothes that actually move, maybe it's fabrics and textures and techniques that aren't always applied to menswear. So I'm really trying to
just continue to develop and create my own brand and tell my own story. We did this really exciting collaboration with Reebok, and I thought it was really, really cool to have the hardware be a part of the exterior of the shoe. So that was really exciting for me. I have a favorite button. The favorite button would probably be the crystal button. It shows up several times in a few pieces. We are fashion forward, and we just want to make people feel good and create beautiful artifacts. Kenneth Nicholson is a brand that takes into consideration and prioritizes quality, originality. I'm thinking about life, and I'm thinking about sometimes struggle, but you can always find beauty in it. So you have these two gladiator-esque boxers going at it, but then they're adorned in glitter. So it was really about acknowledging the tough moments, but then also seeing the beauty in it and rising above it.
During the July Paris Haute Couture Week, Guo Pei, like most designers, presented her Fall 2020 collection online due to the difficulty of hosting a live show during the coronavirus pandemic. The presentation showcased a collection that was truly wild, featuring spectacular, intricately crafted garments that resembled animals of the African savanna. The idea for the collection was sparked by an exhibition of wild animals that the designers saw at the National Museum of Natural History in Paris. Inspired by the beauty and vitality of the animals, Guo Pei and her team set to work crafting couture works of art which imitated her fierce muses. The designer made use of traditional handcrafted sheep wool felt, a primitive material used in many cultures around the world, embroidered and sculpted into intricate couture creatures. The materials and fabrications emulated the animals and landscape of the African savanna, quite literally, with furry felt, grassy green fringe, and material that looked like the leathery skin of elephants and rhinoceroses. The pieces fused simple cuts with exaggerated shapes and meticulous detailing, focusing on animal patterns and motifs for a collection which was equal parts theatrical, luxurious, and wild. That's a wrap on the Year in Fashion 2020. See you next year for your annual recap of the best in fashion.